Hey everyone, Josh here. So today we're doing the DSG oil change or DSG service on this Mark 6 sports wagon. So I know this thing has been neglected a little bit, judging by the timing belt being 40 or 50,000 miles overdue. So I can just imagine what the DSG oil looks like. So we're doing a little video here. There's 3 different ways to do it, and it just so happens I've already filmed this video twice doing it different ways. So this time I'm going to film it the third way with the third way to do it. So you've got the bottom fill method, which the dealer would probably use. The other option, you can do the drain, measure what you took out, and then refill it through the oil filter housing if you don't have the transfer tool. It also works out good if you don't have VCDS because you just basically replace the fluid. And then the last way to do it would be to drain it, overfill it, and then get it up to temperature and then drain the excess out. So I'm going to do a little drawing here to kind of explain what we're trying to achieve, because it can kind of sound a little complicated, but if you can change your engine oil, you can change your DSG oil. It's really not that bad. So I'll do the drawing, kind of explain on what we're trying to achieve, how to do it, and then obviously we'll do it the 3 different ways so you can use the timestamps to kind of jump around to which way you want to do it. So there's a lot of things I'm good at, but graphic design is not one of those things. So we're going to do this drawing on paint. So the DSG transmission is very similar to most modern automatics to my knowledge. My Touareg was the same way. So you have to bottom fill the transmission to do this correctly. The interesting part is the DSG transmission, your fill straw or your level straw and your drain plug are in the same hole. So you're going to remove the drain plug first with your 14 mil Allen, and then up inside you're going to have a 6 mil Allen to get this fill tube out. When I did my Touareg, the holes were separate. So the one over here, say we had the fill tube or the level straw, and then the other hole was the drain. So it was somewhat similar, but just laid out a little different. So yeah, it's really not that big of a deal to do. So up first, the most easiest method and probably the most likely to get done if you don't have a scan tool or the bottom fill adapter, is going to be the drain, measure, refill. You're gonna have all of your DSG oil in here, just to the top of that straw. And what you're gonna have to do is up first, remove your drain plug. A little bit of oil is gonna drop out. You have to reach up inside of your 6 mil and remove that guy. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna get all oily, and hopefully all the oil ends up in your container down here. So while that's draining, the next thing you want to do is remove your oil filter, and then yeah, just let it drain for a while. And then once it's done draining, you have to get all of this oil and measure it out. So your kit's going to come with 5 or 6 liters, so you're going to have to know how much you took out and how much you're putting back in. So say you took 5 liters out, or 4.9 liters we'll say, what you're going to have to do is this is now going to be empty. We've got our fill tube back in, we've got our drain plug back in, and you're going to fill through the housing. And whatever you took out, you're going to put right back in. And so you really don't know where this oil level is going to be. It can be above that straw, it might be below the straw. You're just hoping the last guy did it right. So that's kind of the con of this, is first off, if you have any leaks, you're going to be losing fluid, so you're not going to be able to put the correct amount back in. And then the other issue is it takes forever to fill through the filter housing up here. It's a tiny little hole, and the DSG oil is fairly thick. So what works really nice is to warm it up and then fill it with warm fluid. So that's kind of the cons. The pros, you don't need a scan tool or you don't need the bottom fill adapter. So you can weigh out your pros and cons. So the next method we're going to do is the correct or the factory way of doing it, and that's going to be the bottom fill with the correct tool and with a scan tool. So VCDS is going to work great for this, OBD11, any of the regular scan tools people use for Volkswagens. So same kind of deal, pull your drain plug, pull the straw, and then all this fluid's going to run out again. So you're just going to let it drain out, same type of deal. You're going to remove your filter and then pop your new filter back in. So then up next, you're gonna have to install the straw, but leave the drain plug out. So you're gonna tighten this back down. You're gonna get your adapter, which usually threads into where your drain plug would be. And it's gonna squirt fluid up in here, and then you're just gonna go all over the place. So you're probably gonna get about 2 liters, 2.5 liters in, and then you're gonna have to start the car up to get the last little bit in so that you check it with it running. The other thing you have to make sure is the car has to be as level as possible, because if it's sloped a little bit, you can end up with more or less in there. So basically you're gonna get your level set to where it's gonna start running out of your fill tube. Once it gets to that point, you're gonna wanna put your drain plug back in. So now with the drain plug back in, you've got all the fluid that you need in there. You need to go take it for a dry. So it needs to be 35 to 45 Celsius. It doesn't really take that long to get it up to that temperature. Once it's hit that temperature, you're gonna bring it back to the shop. And what you're gonna do is remove the drain plug again, leave the straw in, and most fluids, when they get warm, they're going to expand. So with the car running, you're going to have a little bit of a dribble coming out. So if it's a steady stream, you're going to want to let it drain out. If it's a little dribble, that means you're fine. Throw the drain plug back in and you're good. You're set to go. Okay, so this third method is going to be a bit of a hybrid between the both of them. So what you're going to do is you're going to drain your fluid as normal, pull all that good stuff out. Fluid's all going to end up not in there. I don't need to draw that again, you understand that. We're gonna remove our oil filter and the system will be empty. So up next, what you're gonna do is, with the filter still off, you're going to reinstall your fill tube and the drain. So filling through the filter housing, the issue with this is you only got one shot to do this, so you're gonna have to overfill the transmission to be able to set this level right. So they say service fill should be about 5.2 liters, so put 5.5 or 6 liters in there. So now you don't have to worry about the car being level, you don't have to worry about it being the car running, you're just gonna dump fluid in there. So your oil level hopefully will end up like this. So once your oil level is nice and high, or you've got the oil, the amount that you want to put in back into it, you're gonna install your oil filter, and then we're gonna take it out for a drive. So again, the same as the previous one, so 35 to 45 Celsius. Once it's warmed up, you're gonna bring it back to the shop, pull this drain plug, and then hopefully all this excess is gonna spit out. So same type of deal. If it's a steady stream, you're too high. If it's a dribble, it's gonna be spot on. So just let it drain out until the level is more appropriate, like just the top of this feed tube, and then reinstall your drain plug and you're good to go. So the issue with doing the correct method is you need to have a scan tool and correct adapter, whereas this one you just need a scan tool, which most people have got a fairly simple one that can talk to the transmission to get the temperature, so it's not that bad. The issue with this method is it's only a one-shot chance. You got to make sure you've overfilled it quite a ways. The other issue is you kind of want to make sure you've got a scan tool so you can run the clutch adaptation after the fact to get this thing 100%. So the fluid, it's going to be different consistency. The transmission, the clutches wear a little bit, so doing a clutch adaptation after the fact is going to make it run 100% again. So you got your pros and your cons. So depending on what you've got for tools at home, you're gonna have to kind of decide which route you're gonna go. But anyways, so now that we've kind of went over all three methods, we're gonna physically do it. I'm gonna do the method of the drain, measure, and refill. So we're gonna drain what's in the transmission into a clean, empty pail. Measure it off of compared to what's in these jugs, and then refill. The downfall of doing it this method will be if you have any external leaks, then it's going to be low to begin with, and when you do the change it's going to be obviously low again. It should be about 5 liters or 5.5 liters. What you're going to need is obviously 6 liters of whatever DSG oil you choose, new filter, needs some Allen sockets, a 14 mil and an 8 mil, 24 mil for the filter housing, and a small funnel of your choice. I've used this one in the past, but the clear hose is cracked, so I think I'm going to try this orange one and see if it works any better. One thing to remember is this DSG oil is really thick. So what I've done in the past is put it in front of a heater to try and warm it up a bit, which I've been slowly rotating them through. So let's get started. So we first got to pull the drain plug out. There'll be a slow little stream here. Then up inside of there, there's a little fill tube, which sets your level, which the 8mm will thread out. Then just let her drain. So there's the filter housing there. You take your air box out, your battery, all that good stuff. Makes it nice and easy to get to. So that's where your 24mm comes in handy. Compare it to your new one to make sure you got the right one. It looks right. So now we can, once it's done draining, which it looks like it's pretty well done there, we can measure out the oil and see what was in there. So I got the oil drained out. Looks pretty burnt and dark. I know the previous owner wasn't real big on maintenance, so I don't know how many miles is on that. So next up is I got a jug here. I'm gonna mark the one. So that's how I know where my full level is. And then I'm gonna pour the one in. I've got the drain plug back in. And then that'll be my measuring jug, I guess. And we'll see how much is in there. So I got the one jug empty. So I'm gonna fill it up to my fill mark that I'd marked before I emptied it out. I'm just shy of 4.5, so I'm definitely low. So there's the filter housing that we're gonna fill through. If you're doing the drain, measure, and refill method, you're gonna try and limit how much you spill because you're just putting back what you took out. If you're gonna heat it up and then pull the drain plug, but leave the fill plug in, then it doesn't matter as much, other than you're just gonna make a mess. So it's just a matter of, see if I can do this with the camera. So you just fill it to the top, and then either sit here and watch it or go do something else for 5 minutes while it drains down. It's very, very slow. That'd be why Volkswagen will pressurize it and fill it through the bottom. But this way you don't have to buy any special tools. So finally got all the oil in. So now we're gonna put the filter in, put the cap back on. We're gonna switch gears and do the DSG service. There's two ways of doing it. There's a right way and a less right way. The right way is using a transfer pump with a 90 on the end to get it up and into the transmission, up through the straw. Or you can use the special DSG tool. We're going to use the transfer pump and actually check the temperature and do all that. So we'll take the top side apart here now and drain the fluid. Okay, so I ran into a slight issue here with the battery box bolts. I got two of them out, really rusty. The third one is really swollen up, hammered on a socket and just spun. So these handy dandy, these are Mastercraft twist bolt, rounded bolt removal tool thingies. So basically you'll set it onto there, same kind of deal, you hammer it on, and then it's gonna twist and bite. And if it rotates, it's gonna bite harder because it's a tapered cylinder in there, so it's gonna grab tighter. So hammer this on and we should be able to get that bolt out. But anyway, so we got the old filter out. Date code of 2015, so that's 7 years old, so that's not a good sign. It's a bit of a different design as well. Everything looks good on this one, so gonna pop the new one in, new O-ring for the cap. And then we're ready for bottom fill. Okay, so up next we're gonna bottom fill. So before you decide that you're gonna bottom fill and reassemble everything, make sure your tool is gonna work. This is a very small hole. And of course my fill tube that I've used for my V10 isn't gonna work. So my Mighty Vac has a bunch of flexi line that will fit up and in snug. Hose clamp makes it snug so I don't lose all the oil everywhere. So the plan is how you do this is you fill this tube or install the tube onto the transmission, same as way as you took it off. And basically this is what's setting your oil level. So you're squirting it up and into the transmission, and around here in the transmission is your oil level. So we're gonna fill it up until it pukes out. Gonna start it up, put it like forward, reverse, stuff like that, and then keep filling. And the car needs to be somewhat level, so here on our stands we're gonna lower it a little bit, and then once it starts puking out again, we will go out for a drive and get it up to 35 degrees, 35 to 45, and bring it back in and just recheck it. So here we're set up. We got a clean pail underneath here to catch any spills. Clean transfer fluid transfer pump. If you use it with a regular ATF, make sure it's good and clean, because the DSG oil is obviously automatic transmission fluid, but not regular automatic transmission fluid. It's meant for DSG transmissions, which DQ 250 to DQ 500. So make sure it's good and clean. So we're gonna fill this up here now. I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. I pumped the whole container's worth in. It should hold about 4.5 liters, so I got about 5 in there, so it should be overfilled. We're gonna check temperature here. So fluid temp of 20 degrees here. So we're going to get the plug put in. We're gonna go for a quick drive, and then we're gonna see what drains out. So we gotta be really quick putting the plug in because it's obviously overfilled. So we're gonna go for a quick test drive and then see how it works. All right, back from our drive. Of course, we overshot it a bit, so we gotta let it cool down. And we'll bring it inside and set the level here yet. Okay, so the car is running as level as possible. Okay, so it's really slowed down there now, so I'm gonna call that good. Okay, so I'm just filming this in case I didn't cover it off in the other 2 videos. This is a sports wagon. The other ones were a Marks 5 BRM and a NMS Passat. So got a nice little flavor of them all. You have to have your air box, your battery, and your battery tray out. It's all pretty easy. The air box, you've got this one bolt down here, and then you can take it off wherever you want, at the turbo or here at the MAF. Your battery is going to be held in with a little clamp here, and then this tray itself is bolted in 1, 2, 3. Really easy to pop out of there. It's not too bad. You got your filter housing here itself, so this is where we're going to be filling it through. So you're going to need a half decent funnel to be doing this, but the other thing sometimes works nice is heating up this fluid a little bit in a hot water, like fill up your kitchen sink full of boiling water and then just warm up the container. But it's fairly warm out, so I'm just gonna fill it up here now. Okay, so it's pretty well done draining here now. Most of it's on the floor. So we're gonna be filling through this oil filter housing. So ideally you're gonna wanna suck all that old dirty fluid out first before we start filling up in there. So I'm gonna try using the Mighty Vac to get that emptied out, and then find a nice funnel and start filling. Okay, so straw first. Make sure you put that back in. Snug that back down. Then we're gonna put the drain plug in. We're gonna use the old crush washer because we're gonna have to loosen that off to set the level. So I'll just reassemble this and then we'll go up to the top and start filling it. Wow, that's some dirty DSG oil. I'm just kidding, that's the engine oil. This is the DSG. It's not too bad. You can see that that kind of resembles hydraulic oil or whatever, DSG oil, but it is definitely darker than what the new stuff is. This is kind of a dark honey color, whereas that's not quite engine oil black, but not too far off. So let's start filling this thing. Okay, so these roll bottles, they're 5 liters. I say 5 liters somewhere. Oh. So a service fill is apparently 5.2. So you're gonna need just a touch over this. And since we're doing the top fill method here, you can only do this in one shot. So if we fill it up and you end up being low, you gotta redo it all over again. So we're gonna probably put full 5 liters, maybe another ½ liter or 3/4 of a liter in here, so that we can drain it out afterwards, and that way we don't end up shy. I'm gonna try free pouring it. These got a nice little spout on them, so I think I can make it in there, but I guess hopefully I don't spill it all everywhere. Okay, so I can free pour it, but we're gonna show you how slow this is. This is not warmed up fluid. Oh. If you look what I'm doing and not at the camera here. So that's about 250 mils, or like 1/4 of a liter. So we're gonna be here for a while. Okay, we're about 1 hour and 15 minutes in, and I think this will be the last filter fill up here, and then I can get this all back together. So once that's back together, we're gonna take it out and get it up to temperature between the 35 to 45 degrees Celsius, and then we're gonna pull that drain plug. So I'm not gonna bother filming it here. I already have it filmed in this last, the correct way. So I'll just jump to that there, and then you can see, I'll kind of explain it then.